below the first thing anyone knew. A mile of nothing happening slowly. A mile of everything learning to stay. 10,000 years of autumn pressed to the thickness of a thumb. Every flood remembered perfectly, every fire written in a line. Come down below your years. Come down below your grief. Where weight moves without hurry, where stone is still becoming. Ochre and iron, the taste of pressure, the color of patience has no name. Nothing is destroyed, only compressed. The record remains in what endures. I have been water, I have been heat, I have been accumulating in layers thinner than a breath, in stacks taller than any thought. Come down below your speed. Come down where time is not a line, but weight, but depth, but all of it at once. You are also sediment, your life a fine lamination, in something too old to carry a name, in something too patient to notice you, but it notices in its way, in its time, which is not your time, which is not time at all. Below the first thing, below the last thing, here.
My grandfather's a river, had a name he heard from his mother, who
Who got it from a trader? Who got it from another? By the time it reached my tongue, one syllable had slipped, but the river ran beneath us and the water never quit. Carry it forward, carry it change. Nothing is lost that was ever exchanged. The forgetting is faithful, the errors are true. Every mouth that holds it makes it new.
The healer in the lowlands had a cure that crossed the sea. 3 translations and a mountain and a century between. She lost the words that went with it, the ceremony, the art. Something in the medicine still recognized its heart.
Carry it forward, carry it change. Nothing is lost that was ever exchanged. The forgetting is faithful, the errors are true. Every mouth that holds it makes it new. Sing what you remember,
Even what's untrue.
change it for the weather.
Change it for the new.
Nothing needs permission,
Nothing needs to stay. Every imperfection carries us away.
I taught my daughter a version I half made myself. Part tradition, part invention, something borrowed from myself. She'll tell it to her children with the edges smoothed away. And whatever's lost in transit is the price the living pay. Carry it forward, carry it change. Everything precious gets rearranged. The forgetting is faithful, the errors are true. This version is mine now, and now it's yours too. There's a nail hole east of the door frame. Something hung there once that mattered. I've tried to guess the picture from the height, a mirror or a child, or something scattered. The light comes in at 7, same as always, the same as it must have come for you. And I have learned your window, learned your shadows, the way you must have learned them too. Tenant before me, did you love this hour of light? Did you stand here every morning while the city woke outside? You left me all your worn spots, the places where you stayed. I carry you through every room, a name I've never said. Floorboards dip below the window where your weight returned each evening. I've learned to step around as if I've always known this feeling. There's a shadow at the baseboard from a chair you pulled up close. I've grown around your absence like a habit. You're the one I know the most. Tenant before me, did you love this hour of light? Did you stand here every morning while the city woke outside? You left me all your worn spots, the places where you stayed. I carry you through every room, a name I've never said. We're all just custodians of elsewhere. Each room holds every ghost that lingered here. And when I drive my own nails in the plaster, you'll wonder who I was, my stranger dear. Tenant after me, I hope the light still comes. I'll leave you all my worn spots, the places I belonged. We never knew each other, but we've shared the same four walls. Two chapters in a story, neither one recalls.
This street bends where a wall stood once. The wall is gone, the bend remains. 1,000 years of people curving left without remembering why. The gate is rubble, the God has no name. Column holds up only sky, but every morning still we turn and trace the choice of someone's yesterday. We live inside the architecture of the dead. We follow lines they drew, city of cities, throne on throne. The street remembers what the century wore. We are the living, walking on the living, walking on the gone. Constantinople, 1,000 years before it changed its tongue. Istanbul, 1,000 years and 1,000 still to come. When does a city become another city? When the name changes or when the people do? Stones hold both, the street bends through. We
my name moves inside me when I sleep. My grandmother's hands reach through into the way I hold my grief. 4 billion years of staying alive, folded into this chest cavity. I breathe out what the forest breathed in. I am continuity. I did not choose these bones, I did not choose this blood, but every cell remembers the ones who came before the flood. I carry the body of the ones who survived. Every scar reminds you know, every will to be alive. They are not gone, they run through the marrow, through the blood. I am the shape that love took when love learned to live long enough. My mitochondria are hers, passed unbroken, mother to mother, back to a woman whose name no language holds anymore. When I flinch before I think that reflex belongs to someone else, a survival from a world of tea, still running in the present tense. I did not choose this fear, I did not choose this grace, but something in the darkness learned exactly how to take my place. I carry the body of the ones who survived. Every scar in my genome, every will to be alive. They are not gone, they run through the marrow, through the blood. I am the shape that love took when love learned to live long enough. I am a record that was never written down. I am a word in a language no one speaks now. I am the distance between a name and a grave. I am the reason someone once was brave. I am everybody that said not yet. I am everything that didn't let go. I carry the body of the ones who survived. I did not earn this, I arrived. They are not gone, they run through the marrow, through the blood. I am the shape that love took when love refused to give up. Nice once meant foolish, awful once meant dull. You tell me what you're feeling, I hear an older word. Glamour comes from grammar, magic and the spell. Enthusiasm possessed by God, the signs are hard to tell. We are always the same river, never the same water. Meaning is what we agree, it is meaning is what we agree, until the words come loose, until the words come loose. Terrible means terror, terrific does too. Awful and its other half awesome drifted into two. You say you're disinterested, I hear what fits my need. Pretty once meant crafty, all the things we let recede. We the same river, never the same water. Meaning is what we agreed, it is meaning is what we agree, until the words come loose, until the words come loose. The name is not the thing, the name is not the thing. I know the word but not the meaning, I know the meaning but not the word. The river runs through centuries, the water's always new. I'm fluent in a version of you that isn't entirely true. Meaning is what we agreed, is meaning is what we agree, until the words come loose, until the words come loose. Peculiar once meant particular, peculiar once meant your own, and now peculiar means peculiar, and none of us go home. Something in the cells remembers everyone that tried to take me down. Collagen in crowded columns, laying thicker over broken ground. Where I used to move so easily, there's a ridge beneath the skin. I know the shape of everything that happened, by the places I can't reach again. This is what persisting looks like, not the same and not the same. I am not the body I was born in. I have been remade in different clay. The damage doesn't leave, it hardens into something built to take the weight. Take the weight. There are seasons in the scar tissue, when the weather finds the lines. Old injuries keep their calendars, reading pressure, reading time. And they say the fracture site grows stronger than the matter laid before. I believe it, God, I feel it. I am harder at the core. This is what persisting looks like, not the same and not the same. I am not the body I was born in. I have been remade in different clay. The damage doesn't leave, it hardens into something built to take the weight. To take the weight. To take the weight. Not healed, transformed, not whole, rearranged, not restored, but standing, not erased, exchanged. There is gold in what is mended, there is record in the bone, every scar a map of what I carried, nothing born entirely alone. I am not the body I was born in. I have been remade in different clay. The damage doesn't leave, There was a word in 40 living mouths for the light that forms beneath the surface of the water. Not the light above, not what it touches, the membrane itself, the between. There was a word for being alone in forests until the aloneness became a kind of company. I have only the feeling now, and clumsy English circling it. Every 2 weeks somewhere a silence opens. There was not silence just before. 6,000 ways of parsing what is real, 6,000 grammars cutting up the world. A tense for things that never happened might have a verb that separates I was seen from I was witness. The last speaker walks between two eras, and one era closes without ceremony. Not with a monument, not with a name, with the absence of a name for its own end. Every 2 weeks somewhere a silence opens that was not silence just before. Somewhere a child is the last to hold the word for watching something end that will not end again. And the word for that, I reach toward concepts borrowed, never native. I find the syllables that almost held them, but find myself describing in a circle the color that was lost before my birth. The things remain, the light, the forest solitude, the grief a whole community holds together. But I am working always with translation, and translation is a beautiful defeat. Every 2 weeks somewhere a word.
In the marble, I already read what will remain. Not the name, not the purpose, not the pride. Only the way the afternoon comes through, where the roof has opened to the sky. I drew the columns knowing they would lean. I chose this stone because it weathers cold. Every plan I ever made contained a blueprint for the beautiful and old. Is this triumph? Ask the grass that fills the nave. Is this elegy? The open vault won't say. Because I love the weight of something beautiful enough to come apart. Imagine all the eyes that haven't opened yet, who will stand here in the long unfolding green. They won't carry my name, only this weight, this shadow that I couldn't help but need. I designed the obsolescence into every stone. I counted out the centuries like breaths. There is a tenderness in building for the ruin, in making something perfect out of what comes next. Is this triumph? Let the strangers decide. Is this elegy? We built on either side. I am building for the ruin, building for the moss and for the light. I am leaving something gorgeous in my falling, something worth surviving me tonight. The grandeur and the grief were always one thing. Every ending is a kind of form. I build because I love the weight of something beautiful enough to come apart. Every empire ends in grass, every column falls at last. But to know the hands that made the ruin were the hands that drew the first design. Let the strangers wonder at these stones, let them feel the longing, not the name. I love this place enough to build it, knowing it would fall, knowing it would remain. I built for those who come in after, for the light that passes through the broken nave. Everything I ever raised was always ending, and I loved it all the
scraped the vellum smooth to start again, but held to winter light you read the trace. The older prayer still visible beneath the monk erased it, still it keeps its place. Nothing is ever truly gone. The old ink bleeds through what was written on top. There is no white space, no clean slate, only the depth of layer after layer, and the weight. The city builds its towers on the oldest street plan, curves to where the Roman road once ran. The body heals but writes the damage in the tissue, and the tissue reads exactly what it has become. Maybe we are palimpsests all the way down, successive drafts of something never meant to reach completion. Only depth, layer over layer over layer, until the writing is the weight, and the weight is the writing, and it stays.